All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are live on America Talks Live. And joining me now is John Zogby, Newsmax contributor, senior partner at John Zogby Strategies, director at the Keenan Center for Entrepreneurship, and author of We Are Many, We Are One, Neo-Tribes and Tribal Analytics in 21st Century America. Hello, sir.
Hello.
All right, so why don't we start nationally before we get to the states? I've heard people say, you know, looking at the polls, you know, it's possible that he could win the popular vote, but it's also possible that at the same time he may not have enough delegates to, you know, Electoral College to win the election. Is that a scenario that you would rule out at this point, or no?
I wouldn't rule it out at all. I mean, right now, what we've seen is the sun, the earth, and the moon all move just in the last 12 days now, from an almost average 7-point lead nationally for Hillary Clinton down to a 1.7 percentage lead. And if you just take the last three or four polls that have come out, it's actually pretty much a tied race right now. But they also, you know, while Hillary Clinton still has the edge thus far in the Electoral College, Real Clear Politics has moved her out of the sure shot category of 270 electoral votes down to about 224 electoral votes. And if you count the leaners towards her, the best scenario is 273 for Clinton, 265 for Trump. And so anything can happen from here on in.
All right, let me ask you about some of the states. North Carolina is something, as a Trump supporter, that's always bothered me a little bit, vexed me a little bit. I know that some polls have shown Trump up in North Carolina, but again, it seems pretty steady that Hillary maintains a 2, 3, 4-point lead in North Carolina. Does that mean much to you?
Well, a 2-3-point lead does not mean much to me, given the volatility of all this and the real question marks about turnout. You have a substantial African-American portion of the electorate, and they came out and voted for Obama, even though Obama ended up losing the state in 2012. But, you know, we're hearing, and the polls are showing, that young African Americans just aren't turned on by Hillary and are questioning whether they're even going to turn out to vote.
Right.
That's why you see, you know, the president being dispatched into North Carolina, try to get that black vote out.
Yeah, we're gonna document that in the Gimme 5 in a second here, talking about how Republicans don't want you to vote, you know, voting right, KKK, this, that. But one more question, Pennsylvania. What do you see happening in Pennsylvania?
You know, one poll came out, Franklin and Marshall, you know, an 11-point lead for Clinton, just, so today's Thursday, so Tuesday. That's an outlier, though. Right now, it's a 3-point race in Pennsylvania, and it's moved from a 10-point average Clinton lead down to more recent polls showing it 3. One is out even a Monmouth, I believe, with a 2-point lead for Clinton. Pennsylvania is very competitive, and you know, if Trump wins Pennsylvania, that could be the state that he would need in order to win the election.
It's going to be fascinating. 5 days away.
It already is.
John Zogby, thank you very much, sir, as always.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Gimme 5. Earlier we mentioned Barack Obama speaking in North Carolina yesterday, and really, you know, playing the race card in a despicable manner, because they are desperate. Desperate. She's not resonating with black voters, especially young black voters. So what does Barack Obama try to do? Well, you'll see. Watch.
That's what Hillary's opponent wants you to think, because they don't want you to vote. And I've got to say, he has been getting help from Republican politicians in this state who've been trying to keep you from voting. We're the only advanced democracy on earth that purposely tries to make it harder for people to vote.
Yeah, we're the only advanced democracy on earth that makes you bring a picture of yourself before you can sign in and vote. Terrible. How racist that is. And you see what he said? Trump's people, they don't want you to vote. Republicans in this state, they don't want you to vote. Rev up the crowd. Divisiveness, Mr. Divisiveness, Mr. Divider. That's what he is, divider and liar in chief. Now watch.
Already, right now, Donald Trump's calling on his supporters to monitor certain areas. Where are those certain areas he's talking about? There are groups that are not even making secret plans. They're just out in public saying, we're going to try and suppress the African-American vote on Election Day or the youth vote on Election Day.
He is a bald-faced liar. If there were groups that weren't even making a secret about it and were saying, we are going to suppress the black vote on Election Day, his Justice Department, rightfully so, would be out on their doorstep. Who, Mr. President? Who is openly saying, which groups are openly saying, we're going to suppress the black vote on Election Day? Name them, Mr. President. This man knows no shame. Mouth opens, divisiveness, hatred, lies. That's who he is. It's who he is. Don't you know that after 8 years? It's who he is. More.
Now, there was a time when systematically denying black folks the right to vote was considered normal as well. And so, young people, I want you to listen up. Parents, I want you to talk about this. It was not that long ago that folks had to guess the number of jelly beans in a jar, or bubbles on a bar of soap, or recite the Constitution in Chinese in order to vote. It wasn't that long ago when folks were beaten trying to register voters in Mississippi.
Okay, and this is relevant right now to stir the pot, to demagogue the issue, to incite people to go to the polls, I guess, could be the argument. But look at the desperation. Look at the desperation. They don't want you to vote. No, people were beaten. You know, there's groups out there openly saying, we're not going to we're going to stop the blacks from voting. Yeah, openly saying. This is the President of the United States. Shameful. But we've seen the emails. We know who they are. Shameful is quite a kind word to describe who these people are. Who he said these people? Yeah, I don't mean black, I don't mean white, I mean Democrats, and I mean the people who run the party. From Donna Brazile to Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and everyone in between. More.
It's easier to vote than ever in North Carolina. But if you don't vote, then you've done the work of those who would suppress your vote without them having to lift a finger. Come on.
He just said it's easier to vote than ever in North Carolina. He just said that. You heard him? It's easier to vote than ever now in North Carolina. But he just spent a half hour telling you why people want to stop you from voting and why it's so hard to vote and how they're trying to take the vote away from blacks and how we're the only democracy where they make it harder to vote. But then he admitted in the next breath, it's easier than ever to vote now. Wow. One more, two more.
You want help with respect to student loans? Don't just sit there and complain. Don't just sit there in the barber shop and the beauty shop and, watching the Tar Heels and say, politics is all messed up, but what's the score? No. You can watch the game after you vote.
He's talking to blacks. Don't just sit there in the barber shop and the beauty shop. Isn't that disgusting? You know those references. To me, that's stereotypical garbage. He should be ashamed of himself, but he's not. Remember, folks, keep it right here with Newsmax TV. J.D. Hayworth is on deck with Newsmax Prime. And of course, you can always stay connected right here at Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com. Thanks for watching.